Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
To Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Throw game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this fifth day. And Rick Bozich joining us now from the road, along with Eric Crawford. Both two of the renowned writers in the country, so we're very fortunate. We're getting a twofer today. Thanks a lot, Eric, for chauffeur. I assume Eric's driving, right?
No, Rick's driving, buddy. I'm multi.
Well, I thought that it looked that way, but I thought it may be backwards. So you usually always make Eric do the work.
Good observation. There we go. Let's keep that. That's off the record.
Yeah. Well, it came a little sooner than a lot of us thought. I think that Bubba Cunningham helped that situation out a lot by screwing West Virginia over and keeping them out of the NCAA tournament and collecting his bonus check that he'll get from North Carolina for getting his team in. But and that worked out in the best interest of Indiana, and a hire that a lot of people may not have seen coming. His name really started popping the last few days, and boy, it happened, and it's over.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, a surprising choice. It'll be one that's debated. I think you can look at his record and find whatever you want to find. If you can find the fact that he achieved big things at Drayton. I checked one thing last night and saw that from 1971 to 2021, they'd made the NCAA tournament one time, and he did 3 times in 6 years. So that's a good sign. But on the other side, it's a coach that, really hasn't proven it on the Power 5 level. And a lot of schools go into these coaching searches looking for the, quote, home run hire. And I think it's another example of the home run hires don't happen anymore. Guys don't leave really good jobs to go somewhere else. So, I think he's got a chance to do a good job. He's obviously very ambitious if he's willing to leave West Virginia after one season and come to Indiana. What do you think, Eric?
I think the fact that he has that 1 year in the Big 12 is big. I mean, if you're looking at guys and what they've done, I think if you look at this year for West Virginia, it was better than it looked. He goes in his first year. They weren't expected to be really contending for anything, and they should have made the tournament. So that's a big endorsement for what he can do at this level. His son, obviously, if they get that worked out and he comes, that's big. And, I think we've seen at Louisville, there wasn't a ton of buzz around Pat Kelsey, but he came in with a plan. He came in with a couple of his guys from Charleston. He brought a staff, and he had a plan. And really, that's what, if you have a guy that's got a plan that knows what he wants to do, that's a big thing right now. Because in case of Louisville, in case of Indiana, you don't always know what the plan was, and hopefully the new guy has one.
Yeah, and they ironically are both in similar situations now, Rick, with young up-and-coming coaches in Pat Kelsey, who knocked it out of the park and ended up meeting Darian DeVries last year down in Atlantis. So that is a little crossover there and interesting. And then I mentioned crossover earlier. Trent Sisley, his brother Blake, played for Evansville and played against DeVries when he was at Drake, and his son Tucker. So you've got that going. I think Tucker is coming to Indiana. I think I've already seen that. But was there something as far as a reason he couldn't have come, Eric?
No, I just think it was his injury.
Yeah. He's got to get the medical waiver. I'll say this. I went back actually in early January at WDRB. I did a story where I ranked the 15 coaches at the power conference level who were in their first season on the job and who was doing the best jobs. And I looked at it last night. And this is way before, obviously, any idea that DeVries might be an Indiana candidate. And I had Dusty May number 1, Pat Kelsey number 2, and I had Darian DeVries number 3. And he had done, he beat Arizona and he beat Gonzaga when he was down in the Bahamas. And he won his opening game in the Big 12 on the road at Allen Fieldhouse. And he improved West Virginia this year. They were the worst team in the Big 12 last year. They won 9 games. This year he won 19 games and would have won more because they played without their best player for all but 8 games. So he did a very solid job. And we're almost to Rupp Arena here, and Louisville plays Creighton, and Creighton's coached by Greg McDermott, and that's Darian DeVries' mentor. So that's one thing we want to talk to him about is Darian DeVries.
And well, Todd really talked with you earlier, and he said that apparently Greg sent out a post or something that said, "Welcome to the pressure cooker."
He was on Jeff Goodman's podcast, and I think he called it a home grand slam or a home run hire or something. So the thing that's obvious about DeVries is he looks like he's, a grinder, a really hard worker, a guy who's super competitive. And the fact that he was willing to leave West Virginia after 1 year to go to Indiana, because in his mind, you can achieve at a higher level at Indiana. You have greater resources, NIL resources, overall basketball budget than you do in West Virginia. That speaks to, what kind of ambitions and what kind of aspirations he has for his career.
Yeah, I love that word grinder, because that is not how I would describe the prior regime. But that aside, Brian Evans, some comments. Mike DeCourcy did a piece the other day, and I saw some comments from Brian, who talked about Kurt Cignetti, and it's like, I don't know it, but it seems like this guy never sleeps. He goes, I'd like to have somewhat of a similar feeling with the IU basketball coach. So I think that they definitely have that now, a guy who lives, breathes, and sleeps his job, which is what the successful guys have to do. Well, I think that as long as both of you guys have been around all these coaches, Pitino and going way back, Pitino still grinds. That's why he's still successful as hell. But you have to grind it.
I'll say it this way. I don't think it would be considered an inconvenience for Darian DeVries to drive to Greenfield Central or Heritage Hills to watch a high school basketball game.
Todd Leary also suggested that the first thing he should do is to drive to Braylon Mullen's home and see if he needed a ride to school.
I don't think Braylon Mullins will break his commitment to UConn, but it wouldn't hurt to talk to him in case a year from now he wants to consider transferring.
Absolutely. You guys are you got your pressers coming up for the NCAA tournament. Louisville taking place down in Lexington, ironically. Which, how has that worked out for the Cardinals in the past?
I remember one year they lost to Billy Gillespie here, didn't they?
They lost to Billy Gillespie here. They came through here in 2013, I believe.
Yeah,
did they not?
Yeah, they did.
Colorado State. And so mixed results, let's just say. It doesn't really, the place at this point doesn't matter. It's how good a team you got. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Indiana's last appearance at the Final Four, the path went through Lexington for sure. It was they beat Duke.
And they beat Duke and Kent State, right?
Yes, sir. Down 17 to number 1 Duke with Carlos Boozer, whose 2 sons will be, man, I'm making myself feel old now. His 2 sons will be playing next season. But looking forward to that. Anything else about the hire stand out to you? I don't know. There's not else other than Chris Beard is where some fans will probably still complain because there's going to be those that don't really like the hire. I never, ever thought that Chris Beard had a shot. And I don't know
Yeah.
if he really did. So,
I'd say this. DeVries did a good job last year going in the portal. He got Javon Small from Oklahoma State. He was one of the better guards in the Big 12. He got a couple of players from Illinois. Because the hires being announced on Wednesday, the portal goes full throttle on Monday. He'll be positioned to do well in the portal this year because other coaches will still be coaching their team. And I think that's a big deal. You got a coach who can get a head start on that. And portal roster construction is going to be huge. The questions I would have is, is he going to bring Corey Barnett, former IU walk-on, whose family's well connected in AAU basketball in Indiana? Will he be on his staff? And West Virginia had a pretty good recruiting class. I think they had 2 4-stars and a 3-star. Are those guys in play to come with him? We probably won't find that out today, but that's the kind of stuff I'm curious about.
yeah, I would be shocked if Barnett is not on his staff.
Right.
He played at IU. He was on an IU.
Right.
He was on the IU team with Jordan Hulls. And you just mentioned the bigger point, the deep ties that his family has on the AAU circuit, not just in Indiana, but all around. That is a huge, huge recruiting tool for that. And Indiana has got to get back to mixing their recruiting. They have not done a great job of that, bringing in the elite talent, as well as not letting the elite talent in its own state get away.
Yeah, and Corey's friends with Jordan Hulls. So I would expect Corey Barnett to be on the staff for sure. Be a wise move to bring him back to Indiana. He's got a lot of experience now. He was with Steve Alford at UCLA. He's got some experience as an assistant coach. I think he'd be a positive addition to the IU staff.
Yeah, he has pretty extensive experience as an assistant, to be honest with you.
Yes, he does.
And then the recruiting aspect just adds to that. Indiana, this is probably the best chance they have to returning to a style, not a style, but a place where they had their fans had used to them being. Where Louisville has been able to fall and climb back to, where Kentucky has been able to fall but climb back to. Indiana's just not been able to make that climb back, and this is probably as good a chance as they've had in quite some time.
Yeah, you just have to have the right coach. We've seen it in a lot of different places, especially at Louisville. And as we've talked about all winter long, Jim, Archie Miller, I think everybody thought he was going to be a home run hire. He wasn't. Didn't get it done. Coaching-wise, he definitely didn't get it done in terms of the PR part of it. Mike Woodson didn't get it done in either way. In many ways, made it worse in terms of I think, the relationship between the program and the fans with some of the stuff he said. But now it's a new dawn, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to hand you over to Eric here because I'm going to have to park.
Well, we'll take a quick break while you're parking, Eric, and we'll be back in just 2 minutes from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Grateful to have Rick Bozich and Eric Crawford along with us today as they head into the pressers down in Lexington, Kentucky, ahead of the NCAA tournament there. Who does Louisville have in their first game?
They got Creighton. That's why we're going to have to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. We want to go in and talk to the Creighton players and Coach Doug McDermott. They got Creighton, and then if they win, they'll most likely play Auburn, the overall top seed in the tournament, on Saturday afternoon.
Some incredible games down there. Who do you have winning it?
I picked Auburn, and I think Eric did too, right?
I think in the end, I did 2 brackets that I can't remember, but I think I had Florida Duke in my 5.
I got Florida, man. It's hard. I like them. I really do. They've just been so good this year. They've handled Auburn twice. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a hell of a tournament. Looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys pull out of there, and we'll look forward to getting your content. Make sure to see that you go to WDRB.com. Always give not only Rick Bozich but Eric Crawford a follow as well. Keep up with the great content both put out covering great college basketball, college sports, and period. What's your last thoughts on this hire before we let you go?
I I think it's a very solid hire. I think the guy's a good basketball coach. I'll be interested to see what the reaction is today from the press conference, his personality and stuff. And I think that's the one thing IU needs to work on going forward. I think because of some of the stuff that was said and that was done, a number of fans got a little bit separated from the program. And the one thing I'll say is when there was a little bit of letdown at Louisville that they got Kelsey instead of Drew or Dusty May, Pat Kelsey knocked it out of the park in the press conference with his personality and his message. And the same thing with Mark Pope at Kentucky. A lot of people were disappointed that they didn't get Scott Drew, and then they did go after Hurley and didn't get him. But when they introduced him, they opened Rupp Arena and filled the place, and he dazzled the crowd with the way he spoke. So the PR in terms of how you introduce the coach to the fans is important, and I hope Indiana does something like that to build back the relationship with people who are not happy over what happened the last year with Mike Woodson.
You know, I thought about that very thing, and the introductory press conference is coming in the media room, which tells me that there's not going to be a public welcome like they have in the past. So a little surprising there. I thought that they might do that very thing to throw out some good vibes, but that's not, and that's fine with me. I don't care. But yeah, looking forward to going forward. I cannot thank both of you enough. Eric, great to see you, man. I appreciate you. I know that I'm glad to see you don't have to work so hard today. I'm sure Rick will make you carry his bags, though. That's what Eric says, man. Don't blame me, Rick. I'm just saying.
All right.
Just you kidding, you guys. You guys have a great day and enjoy it. Appreciate you both.
All right. Text me your reactions later on after the presser.
Will do, brother. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
both
Jim.
of you. There's Rick Bozich and Eric Crawford joining us here on the program. Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.